what we're currently embarking upon with increasing our long-duration assets on our balance sheet to the tune of $85 billion per month, we're looking for substantial improvement in labor market conditions. For me, that seems like we ought to be seeing 200,000 increase in payroll employment per month, maybe a little higher than that for about 6 months, really. We ought to see growth that is above trend, which supports that continuing substantial improvement in labor market conditions.
That was Chicago Fed President Charlie Evans on Squawk Box on Monday, explaining his expectations for the Fed's latest round of easing. Joining us now is Jim Grant. He's been a critic of the Fed's accommodative monetary policy. He is founder and editor of Grant's Interest Rate Observer. He's also the author of 5 books, including Mr. Market Miscalculates. We need 5 Squawk Box book awards for you, Jim. I'll tell you, here's how I would argue this, and not me, but if I was trying to debate the point, I'd say they have a dual mandate. Number one, for jobs, it's a no-brainer since we're over 8% that they're supposed to do something, so they can hide behind that. Number two, even if it's just price stability, they're below their inflation target, so even on the second mandate, they could justify doing what they're doing. So on both mandates, they got total political cover that they're doing the right thing. And you'd actually have to think about what's going to happen in the future to not do what they're doing. You'd actually have to be responsible and worried rather than just satisfying their dual mandate.
Is that your best shot?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want them. I agree with you.
Joe, they don't actually meet the common sense mandate.
That's what I mean.
We are on the PhD standard. And what we have is
that piled higher and deeper?
Yeah. We have monetary mandarins who interpose themselves between us and what we call the price.
Butt. Wouldn't you do it if you were them, to cover your butt with the dual mandate? When you say I can cover myself and tell you why I did it? So
Joe, I'm in the non-covering one's butt line of work. I'm in the exposing those who try to cover their butt line of work. The Fed was instituted 100 years ago to supply liquidity to the banking system in times of seasonal and cyclical difficulty, period. That was it. No improving the GDP, no managing the dynamic stochastic growth equilibrium model, if you please.
Yeah.
No doing the stuff that they do on the pretext that they are lifting up our living standards and improving our lives. None of that. And it seems to me the time has come for the politicians, in fact, perhaps tonight, Jim, for the politicians to say, let us at least investigate the possibility of returning to capitalism in finance. I mean, the Fed, in effect, was given stewardship over the 36-inch yard, right? 36 inches make a yard. Now, what they're doing is, 36 inches is difficult in these times of ours, and how about a 34 3/8-inch yard this quarter? And then we'll check the dynamic stochastic growth equilibrium model and see if perhaps the next quarter we can do with a 31-inch yard. That's what Charlie Evans is saying. That's what Bill Dudley is saying. In effect, they are seeing into the future, they say, and improving the future before it can come to pass, and they are not succeeding.
I think 34. If you're going the speed of light and measure a yardstick in another realm, it is 34.3, isn't it?
No, it's 36.
No. Going the speed of light, it's relativity. Length contraction, time dilation.
See, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem.
You've heard of length contraction and time dilation, right?
We should talk in simple terms, Joe.
Not general relativity. But Einstein made a fortune in physics. So you're saying that, at 8%, you're not feeling the pain. You're not feeling the pain of all these people that are out of work, and we've got no fiscal solutions. We've got a deadlocked Congress. Congress can't do anything. They're the only game in town, Jim. They've got to help.
I yield to no one in empathy, but empathy is not the way forward. The way forward is to think through the problem.
It is staggering that they think that they need to take everything on their shoulders.
No one. They have an Atlas complex, which is not helping.
They should be shrugging.
It is hindering. Ben Bernanke sets up as the world's leading authority in the 1930s. Why do we talk nonstop about the 1930s? Are they necessarily relevant? No, I say, answering my own question. Let us allow markets to clear. How is that just for a start?
So can the politicians allow that?
Yes.
Let's talk about this a second. The politicians are looking at 8% unemployment rates. They've got to look like they're trying to do something to bring that down. After all, they're elected.
Like they're not.
Well, they haven't approved of any real legislation, so they're badgering the Fed to do something about it.
Well, Jim, you work for a living, right?
Yes,
and
I think so.
Run businesses. Does the uncertainty about what they are going to do next quarter with respect to the cost of money, with respect to QEN, does that help? Does that embolden you to invest more, to hire more?
I want to say something. I'm in violent agreement with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and I do know that even though the Fed is non-political,
the Fed is hugely political.
They feel, well, they're supposedly non-political, but they feel enormous political heat.
Well, so tonight somebody's bound to say the Fed is an independent body, and I respect that. He'll say that with great gravity and even with reverence. The Fed is the Congress has delegated to the Fed the power to coin the money and regulate the value of. The Congress gets that power under the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Why is the Fed out of bounds for political criticism?
The runaway inflation happens when? What is it?
Inflation,
that's going to come.
Inflation is a defined term. Inflation is not too much money chasing too few goods that are encapsulated in the PCE Deflator. Inflation is too much money. It chases the things that it chooses to at a given moment of the cycle. Today it's chasing common stocks. Is that perhaps inflation? It is chasing treasury bond prices. Mm-hmm. There is an immense inflation in asset prices. There's a growing inflation in real estate. There's an inflation in farmland. It's not,
so
captured.
The traditional inflation that we measure, you think, is the wrong measure?
Well, it's a measure, but it's not. I mean, we had so-called price stability in the mid-aughts, and under cover of that so-called price stability, we had this levitation of house prices, which laid the financial system low for now, 4 or 5 years and counting.